is St. George's Day this week. I thought I'd do an extra video. After all, St. George is the patron saint of England. His red cross is on the flag and waved from the window by football fans across the country. His great feat was slaying a dragon, a well-known story that is told year after year by my good friends at Tales of the Heart. Sadly, they couldn't do it this year, so I thought I'd do a special on dragons. Especially if you bear in mind that dragons are one of the most popular beasts in stories, legends, and modern pop culture, appearing in such works as Harry Potter, Inheritance, Avatar, and A Song of Ice and Fire. They appear in just about every culture on Earth, and all heroes of Western lore have defeated dragons. In the Far East, dragons are revered and put on near equal level to gods. And where dragons aren't mentioned, great serpents are often named as either deity or beast slain. With all these tales of similar creatures from across the globe, it's easy to conclude that they must have existed. Now, beasts that are called dragons do exist, but the biggest is the Indonesian Komodo dragon, the largest lizard on Earth, true, but still nowhere as big as some of the great dragons that we've seen in stories. Another one, fairly common, is the bearded dragon, that more often just eats lizards, not lizards, sorry, insects. Other legends could refer to either dinosaurs or crocodiles. But interesting descriptions in the Bible that I've seen in studies sound remarkably similar to descriptions of dragons in various legends. Along with this and other things led me down an interesting line of study. It seems to me that dragons could be angelic beings, or even angels themselves. Let me show you what I found out. Other cultures have dragons or serpents as deity-like beings. Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent of Mesoamerican mythology. Apophis, the ancient Egyptian god of chaos. Jormungandr, the world serpent of the Norse. The Welsh dragon, and Leviathan of the Abrahamic last days. Some of these creatures are the creators of the world and nurturers of life. Many are locked in battle with either the forces of order or chaos. Others are signs of Armageddon. Dragons are seen as great and powerful beings across the world, and in many cases as beings from heaven. Possibly the Chinese dragon is the closest concept to angels that we would understand, being heavenly in origin. Now, true, many people will know Chinese dragons are depicted without wings, except for the yin lung, a very particular species. But surprisingly few angels are described as having wings, if they are described at all. And they're similar in other ways. Both have different roles and purposes. They have strange appearances, beyond most earthly creatures, and are said to dwell in the heavens, but also are neither universally good or evil. Because there are evil dragons even in Chinese lore, and there certainly are rebel angels. Now, there are quite a few surprising references to dragons in the Bible. In the infant Gospel of St. Thomas, dragons are said to bow down before the infant Jesus. So I personally think those are more the lizards of the area, showing that all creatures will bow down to the risen Lord, the King. But in Revelation, Satan is described as a red dragon, the great red dragon, or that ancient serpent. Traditional artworks, we see Satan and the other demons being depicted as winged humanoids, similar to angels, but instead of feathered wings like birds, they have leathern wings like bats, pterosaurs, or dragons. Quite often they have horns, spiked tails, scaly skins, and flaming breath. Many angels are described as shining beings. Cherubim are said to sparkle like burnished bronze. And in Ezekiel we get a vivid description of Satan. Every precious stone was your covering: ruby, topaz, and diamond, beryl, onyx, and jasper, lapis lazuli, turquoise, emerald, and gold. Very much a dragonish sounding form. This isn't unique to fallen angels by any means. In Isaiah, the seraphim are seen in the throne room of God, and seraphim, by their very name, have a dragonish suggestion to them. The Hebrew word sarath, from which seraphim is derived, has two meanings. The noun sarath means serpent, the plural being sarathim. The verb means to burn. So a serpent that burns naturally implies a flaming lizard, a flaming dragon. And since the temple is described in the same chapter as being filled with smoke, the concept of a burning serpent in a smoke-filled room is completely understandable and linked to a dragon. Anyone that's watched The Hobbit will instantly be thinking Smaug in the throne room of God. Now, it's worthwhile bearing in mind, however, that this imagery is not unique to the Bible. It harkens back to ancient Egypt. The hieroglyph for the Egyptian serpent, the Egyptian cobra, shows a winged serpent, a serpent with wings over its head, emphasizing the distinctive hood of the cobras. Also, many cobras tend to spit, and if that venom hits the eyes of someone, it results in a burning view. So the concept of a serpent with wings that burns is well understood in that time period. Now, it's not just the seraphim that have dragon's features. The cherubs and cherubim have very dragonish features as well. Now, cherubs are often described in modern culture as tiny little children with little fluffy wings. But in the Bible, they are actually described as tall beings with 4 wings, with spans of 8 feet or more. So clearly, not a tiny little child, but a great big beast with massive wings. Actually implies a dragon, do you think? Furthermore, the cherubim are described as having 4 faces. This could imply multiple heads, but I personally think that it could be that in certain lights their faces could have different likenesses, similar to an optical illusion, or remind one of a particular face at a different angle. The faces often attributed to the cherubim are those of a man, an ox, a lion, and an eagle. Strangely enough, descriptions of the Chinese dragon similarly have features common to many creatures on the earth. Some descriptions have the dragon as having the tail of a snake, the muzzle of a dog, the horns of a deer, the eyes of a lobster, the mane of a lion, the claws of an eagle. Some even have it as a bull's head, maybe even a horse's head, with rabbit's eyes, fish scales, and tiger claws. So, a creature with many, many physical aspects of animals across the earth is well known. If you think about it, especially if you look up images of a Chinese dragon's face, you start to see what I'm referring to, hopefully. Certainly you can see that many dragons are described as having sharp triangular heads, often with sharp crests at the back, reminiscent of a raptor. Many have huge horns, like a bull, sometimes with broad nostrils. Some have spiked or even feathered frills around their neck, similar to a mane of a lion. As for being described like a man, I think that lies in the eyes. Because mankind knows intelligence of another man, and therefore they look into a creature's eyes and see that sort of intelligence. They will see a human-like intelligence, and that implies what a human can back at them. That's roughly why the cherubim being described as having a man's eyes, or just having the face of a man. Could also be they have the expressions of a man. I don't know. Other things tend to crop up, even mentioning that angels, fallen angels like Azazel, are described as goats, and just one look at a Chinese dragon, many of them not only have horns but beards. So that seems an awful lot like dragons could very well be angels. Now I'm willing to concede that the throne guardians of God change from one biblical author to another. But just because they have different names and often are described differently, doesn't mean they are different. Biblical scholars will mention that at the time of Isaiah, Egypt was a very common trader with Israel. Therefore, Egyptian iconography, such as the hieroglyph of the winged serpent, will be very common and understandable, even to a devoted follower of Yahweh. Therefore, a winged serpent guarding God's throne is perfectly understandable. Similar in Ezekiel's time, Babylon was a prominent power. So, Mesopotamian imagery would have been second nature to the people, and the description of the cherubim is remarkably similar to a creature called the caribou, which has many features of animals from across the earth, having wings like an eagle, hooves like an ox, the face of a man, and many more. Almost chimeric, as we would call it. So, it's worth remembering, each biblical author will take what they would take as the most understandable image and use that to describe the angels they saw. So if we were to see an angel today, it wouldn't be a tall, muscular man with wings. I would personally say we would see a dragon. Because it sounds like that is what they are described as. Granted, some dragons are shapeshifters. Therefore, they could take on different forms. If they were to appear in a natural form, a dragon is more likely the creature we'll see. Now, strange enough, I am not entirely alone in this implication. Tolkien has a similar implication to dragons in his works. According to the Silmarillion, the dragons were created by Morgoth, the first Dark Lord in the First Age, by unknown means. But since they are said to have dark or fell spirits within them, it is implied that they are Maya, twisted by Morgoth. Maya are the lesser angelic beings, below the Valar, and they are below the Yahweh-like being, Eru Iluta. To be honest, I've only found references to this in 2 YouTube videos, and they were only speculating. And whilst using a fictional depiction of dragons isn't reliable information, the fact that a respected professor who uses mythology from many cultures in his works is implying the same thing shows the idea is at least workable. Also, a fun side note, I think he based the Balrogs on either demons of Christian and Judaic lore, or possibly even the jinn of Islam. So, just shows Tolkien takes inspiration from all areas. It's rare that a story, legend or myth, gives an origin story for the race of dragons, often saying they were the original inhabitants of the land where the story is set, or are even an invasive species for another land. Only 3 stories I've found give an idea of their creation. In Colleen Houck's The Tiger Legend, the dragons of the 5 oceans are said to be the sons of Mother Earth and Father Time. An interesting concept I will expand on later on. In George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire, someone told a story that dragons came from the second moon, that got too close to the sun and cracked open like an egg, releasing the dragons, which drank the fires of the sun. In Christopher Parolini's Inheritance Cycle, the dwarves, in their religion, believed that dragons were made by Morgothol, the god of fire and smithing, and his brother Uru, the Wind Lord. Whilst I've already mentioned the supposed creation of dragons in Tolkien's lore, it's too vague an origin to mention it here, except as an honourable. But the fact they all seem to be referring to dragons almost as godly in origin, with Tolkien's work implying the same, this suggests these beasts, creatures, or beings, whatever you want to call them, have a heavenly aspect to them that has not gone unnoticed by modern day authors, or for that matter, early writers and storytellers. Worthwhile remembering that. But what does this mean for us? Well, I started this project as more of a thought experiment that led to somewhere interesting, and as far as I can tell, shows firstly that angels are incredibly powerful, inspiring mythologies and legends all their own. Certainly if we see an angel today, it almost look like a dragon in our eyes, as far as I can tell. But secondly, I think it's worthwhile bearing in mind that mankind is more aware of God, as well as his servants, than many of us might realise. We may say that we were ignorant in the past, but we're now enlightened by God's presence, thanks to Jesus. This can give rise to the idea of rolling knowledge, that everything we knew in the past was wrong, and everything we know right now is right. And sooner or later, everything we know right now will be completely wrong, and everything in the future will be right. There's a similar concept to the half-life of facts, which I might be expanding on next week. The problem is, this can tamp down the wisdom of the ages and close our minds to the glories of the past and what it can teach us. It can also close off knowledge from other lands that could help us grow as people and ultimately lead us into tribal blindness. I suppose, in this case, whilst it's just a thought experiment, it's worthwhile keeping an open mind about this sort of thing. Because if we close our minds, we end up losing more knowledge than we ever held in our hands. Keeping it open allows for far more. I am planning on expanding on this in later videos. If you want to be alerted to any of that, then click subscribe below, and remember to click the notification bell to be notified when the video lands. If you like this video, or just like the idea of dragons being angels, then give it a thumbs up, and please share it with people you might think will be interested. Especially if they're a Tolkien fan, or just like dragons in general, like me. I love to see other dragon lovers out there. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below, as well as any suggestions for future videos or any scriptures you think I should look at. Until the next video, which hopefully will be on Saturday, wish you a happy St. George's Day, stay safe out there, and God be with you, my friends.